welcome you all to this event tonight. My name is Dennis Kushiro. I'll be the MC for this event this evening, and I work for Trademark East Africa.
Good evening, everybody. All protocols observed again. I hope that, basically, as Frank said, we can have a conversation and some interaction, because the thrust of what I want to talk about is Kenya's economic takeoff and how the UK can support it. I'm really grateful to TMEA for hosting this. We are proud parents, Frank, of TMEA. We have, I think, contributed towards a $700 million fund for TMEA. We're the biggest financier, but that means we welcome even more the other financiers, the other 7 donors who join us in this. And I think the TMEA work program is absolutely fundamental to the Kenyan regional takeoff story. And these issues of increasing access to markets, support for the modernization of the ports, looking forward to going to Mombasa tomorrow, the one-stop border stops, all these things are the things that are going to get the economy moving. So the kinds of things that we want to do, on which I welcome your feedback as we support this takeoff. Firstly, we want to help improve the business environment. We want to give businesses of all sizes an economic boost and get them better access to finance and share the risks of investment. We want to invest in skills and training to improve the strength of the local workforce. We do want to continue to support devolution and better governance, without which I don't think any of these other things are going to work. And we're particularly keen to support economic progress in the poorest regions, the arid and semi-arid lands, because unless the rising tide lifts all boats, it's impossible to develop a stable and socially cohesive and prosperous country in everybody's interests.
What we're going to do now is to basically get our panelists to comment on that speech and some of the ideas that have been generated. So, Vimal, I'd like to hand over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I will also say all protocols observed. I think the challenge here that you set up for us is very clear. What should developmental aid be doing? And I think, first and foremost, we should be doing something we call design thinking. And design thinking means let's look at it from bottom up rather than top down. And why am I saying this? Because a lot of times we've had a lot of developmental aid coming to us prescription made, prescribed by somebody to say, this is what you need, and this is from the Western eyes, and this is what you should be doing. And I think we need to look at solutions that are locally oriented. We've got to preserve our value system. We've got to preserve our family value system, and all that when you put it together and say, within that context, what is it that we really need?
Vimal, thank you very much. I think key things, local production, local value added. Chindia, you talked about, we don't just want to be a conduit for imports. And I think that's an important point. Also, I think you said efficient trade matters, helps the economy moving forward. And people are our key asset here in Kenya. So we need to look at that. CS Amina Mohamed, it's great to have you here. I'm going to ask you, if you could, to talk a little bit about a government's perspective.
But let me begin by thanking Trademark East Africa for all the support that they've continued to give us, both as a government, as a region as well, but as a ministry too, because they've been supportive of our efforts to host the World Trade Organization here in December. We've also been working on trade facilitation issues together. They're also going to support the capacity for the hosting of the World Trade Organization ministerial conference here in Nairobi. If you're actually coming in to give us that support in those areas, try and focus on the blueprint that we have and complement the efforts that government is making. Because as you yourself have said, Vimal has acknowledged, and I'm sure everybody else who will speak after me will also acknowledge, we haven't done too badly in the last 25 years that you mentioned. We've been growing, we've been building capacity, we've been becoming more efficient, we've become more effective. Vimal can get his license renewed in 10 minutes thanks to service delivery having been improved tremendously. and government having moved into the 21st century, as it were. We've also enacted legislation, and it's 21st century legislation. Our policies are equal to, if not better than many others. And so we'd really call upon you to complement the efforts that we're making. And, you know, those efforts have been tremendous.
Much as we think it's very important to provide greater support to the private sector, we think it's also important to pay attention to the political economy of inequalities. Yes, Kenya is growing. Yes, this region is growing. But one of the issues that we have great concern about is the increasing inequalities and the dangers of having a growing concentration of wealth, resources, and political power in a few hands. We have made great strides over the last 20 years or so. But we also must not forget the fact that there's still a lot that needs to be done. That we can only have a significant impact on the poverty and inequality that many of our people face if we also address we all try to foster some profound changes in the power relations. Thank you very much, Trademark, for the work that you're doing. But yes, let's have development aid that's going to be smarter, that's going to be more strategic, that's going to take us to the next level in different sectors. And I'm glad that the CS is here with us to also ensure that we don't have a situation where private sector exploit weak or missing regulations to maximize competitiveness. I'm all for competitiveness, Vimal, but it has to be the fair competitiveness. It shouldn't be the kind of competitiveness that exploit those kind of weak regulations. And also not at the expense of workers' rights or the environment. Ultimately, everything that we are trying to do, whether it is government, private sector, or the civil society, is the betterment of our people. Thank you very much.
So quite a rich panel. We've heard from civil society, government, private sector. Now we want to hear from you. And with Mark's challenge, okay? So what needs to be done to realize this huge potential for prosperity for Kenya and the region? And what should the UK be doing?
My substantive comment is actually about the spread of aid. I wouldn't agree that aid in the past has tended to focus much more on the social sector. This is actually a myth when you analyze the figures of where the money is going. In fact, even if you just look at the figures you mentioned, what was going to Equity and what was going to Safaricom and the others, and you compare to the kind of aid that goes to care, it tells a story on its own. The problem with the aid that has been going much more to the social sectors is that it is not very well focused. For instance, when aid is given to Safaricom, it's really targeted, and these are business people who know how to invest it where it's going to maximize on whatever is going to come out of it. When it is given to the social sectors, it is much more in a blanket manner, much more in terms of giving charity. Okay, so, and this is something I've been bringing up to Trademark East Africa every time. First of all, not enough thought is given to the aid. Secondly, not enough investment in terms of research, in terms of skills, in terms of systems to operationalize it is put in place. And this still remains a very big problem to aid towards the social sector and aid towards the poor. Thank you.
Let me just leave you with one final request. We've had a great discussion of the issues. What we're now keen to do is to work out the specific things we can do next, taking us back to the first thing I started with. How can we help with Kenya's economic takeoff? And, you know, we have in the room today with me, we have Christian Turner, the High Commissioner, and Lisa Phillips, the head of the DFID office, and Frank and all the TMEA people, and I put all of them at your disposal to take delivery of your fantastic ideas on the specific things we can do next. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. All right. We really look forward to carrying on the discussion, and thank you very much, everyone, for coming this evening. We really appreciate it. Asanteni sana.